Tell me, what are we getting tonight in this game between Minnesota and Indiana?
Yeah, well, Joe, I kind of like it because now we actually have time to take some inventory of what these teams have done. We don't have to sift through, like you mentioned, 100 games on a day. It can be overwhelming at the start of the season. Obviously, college sports, both football and basketball, it's a whole new world with transfers and stuff like that. It's hard to get a hand, know what you're having with these teams coming into the season. Now, though, we've got some data points and we can adjust. So you mentioned Mike Woodson not necessarily being happy. Well, there's lots of reasons to like this Indiana team coming into tonight, Joe. 3 consecutive wins and covers, as you alluded to. Friday, pretty easy win against Miami of Ohio, who Ohio University, I should mention, just beating the MAC championship game in football. Indiana shoots 54% in that game, dominated the boards, 46-29. It was a 19-point win. However, it should be noted, it was only a 3-point game at the half, Joe, even though the Hoosiers never trailed. So it took them a while to pull away from the Red Hawks there. A negative assist-to-turnover ratio. I think that's what Woodson was really griping about. The team had more turnovers than they did assists. But they're here at home Monday. They're 6-0 straight up so far at Assembly Hall, and they're facing a Minnesota team they've beaten 8 straight times. So it's understandable why this number is where it is right now. But Minnesota, they've played a conference game, unlike Indiana. Now, it didn't go well. They lost by 18 at home to Michigan State. That's not great. And boy, the Golden Gophers have not been a great team to back, have they, Joe, so far? 1-7-2 against the number, depending on your closing line there. And that one cover was the season opener. So what this team needs to do moving forward, Minnesota, is improve on its three-point shooting. The three-point shooting has been horrible. Sub 30% this year, outside the top 300. You've got Dawson Garcia, but he needs help. And Mike Mitchell Jr. might be the guy to bring it, Joe, because he missed the first 7 games with an ankle sprain for Minnesota. What did he do for Michigan State? Well, I know that against Michigan State, I should say that game did not go well, but he made 5 of 9 threes. That's exactly the kind of improvement we're talking about. I think Indiana wins the game. We don't probably all agree on that, but the ATS result is going to come down to which team could dictate pace. You look at Ken Palm, IU's 51st in adjusted tempo. Minnesota, 362nd. That is 3rd slowest in the country. So if you like Indiana, that's probably correlated with the over. If you like Minnesota, that's probably correlated with the under. I'm not convinced the Hoosiers should be laying double digits here for a variety of reasons, one of which being Minnesota's had 2 extra days to prepare, Joe. I think they're ready for here. Conference play, a whole different animal, as you know, from the non-con. I know Indiana's looked good, except for that assisted turnover margin in the last game. But I think Minnesota, with Mitchell back in the lineup, keeps this one close on Monday.
Yeah, I've said it early on in the season, too. Minnesota was a team, BP, that if they were laying points, I was fading. If they're getting points because of the way they play and because they want to slow it down to a crawl, you want to give me that many points. It's interesting to see exactly how that goes here tonight, especially if Indiana's going to keep turning the ball over. You got to love Big Ten basketball. In ways, it has changed a little bit here with some of the new teams and the realignment, BP. But for the most part, these two teams, what you see is what you get. And that's kind of the way it's been between Minnesota and Indiana now over the last decade.
Yeah, and to your point, Joe, about Minnesota and the points and not wanting to play as a favorite, they have not gotten more than 5 points in any game this season. So this kind of feels like the bottom of the market with the ATS slide. They've lost 3 or 4 straight up. But again, Michigan State is better than Indiana. Some of the other teams they lost to, Wake Forest, Wichita State. Those were, road games. Minnesota was only, +3, +2 in those 2 games?
Yep.
Here we're getting 10. That's a lot to work with in a conference game where, again, Minnesota does have the rest advantage. It's kind of a stinky one, obviously, given Minnesota's recent woes, but I don't know. It feels like bottom of the market on them.
What do you got ready to roll today over at WagerTalk?
Yeah, look, we're dusting ourselves off over the weekend. I'm not going to lie to you, Joe. I'm not going to lie to the people. Never have. It was rough in the NFL on Sunday, but we're bouncing back. We've got to play on the Monday Night Football game that I know that we've had a lot of talk about so far on the show. And the one bright spot over last week, I was 2 for 2 in college hoops. Had Duke over Auburn. Had Valpo plus the points against Drake as well. We've got a college hoops play right now, 2 for 1 at my page, wt.buzz/BP, just $19 for both Monday selections. And if you are looking to lock in, long-term, that deal Joe just brought up is a great way to do so. Also, college football, had been great for about a year. Had hit 67% for a year. The last 2 weekends, we've certainly given some back. If you're looking already ahead to the Bulls, Joe, I'm already after we're done here, I'm going to start breaking down these playoff matchups in detail. Some of the other Bulls, do my notes. Mark Zinno and I, Morning Wager co-hosts, we have joined together for an incredible deal. You get all of our bowl picks for just $199. That's 2 handicappers, $199 every bowl pick from the first one through the national championship game.